Ladies and gentlemen, Grandmaster Jerry Fastly Fontaine is here with an opportunity to share some information with a person who I consider a true friend. Actually, I'm lying. He's a family member. Kind of looks more like me than maybe even his father, which is pretty interesting. However, let me just say this: MA Power Talk, Dojine, Dojo in hand, Dojo in the Dojine app is up, guys. It's not on Apple yet, but it will be there shortly. Anyhow, I'm over here in New Jersey. That's right. For the last 17 years, almost 18 years, I've been residing in New Jersey. And this gentleman, I believe, when we initially made contact with each other, was back in the MySpace day. Yeah, you guys remember that? MySpace, predecessor to Facebook. And in recent days, he actually exposed me to another social media, which is taking the world by storm, called Periscope, owned by Twitter. Anyhow, bottom line is this. This gentleman, his name is Ray, one of the two Black Dragon twins. Last name is actually Bowman, but we know him as Torres, because that's his father's name. Bottom line is that we're going to ask him some questions about the past, the present, and the future, and see if we can dot some I's, cross some T's, and make some type of connections. Okay, Master Torres, Master Ray, are you there, sir?
What's up? What's going on?
Okay, I guess that's a Sir, I'm going to put you on, I'm going to mute myself a few times only because I am dealing with a situation here where that damn alarm keeps beeping and we don't want this to be annoying to everybody. So my first question is, what was either your inspiration, desperation, or motivation to be even get involved in martial arts, and what year was that?
Well, I kind of was born into the martial arts. My father was our instructor. Mine and my siblings instructor. We really didn't have much of a choice. When we were with him, he was in the dojo. We started in 1980. Well, started at the time we were able to walk, but I remember vaguely 4 years old. It was like 1984 at the YMCA in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Back then, there was a lot of activities going on in the YMCA, but he held classes there a few nights a week, and I remember being on the side and just watching people yelling and this and that. And back then, people were wearing kung fu button downs and kung fu pants and stuff like that, and they reminded us of Bruce Lee, which was I think most of our inspiration. And when we were younger, we would watch Bruce Lee movies and make the sounds and all that stuff. And so we loved the uniform. Believe it or not, the uniform is what we loved the most. And I remember us crying, saying that we wanted the uniform. We wanted to be like Bruce Lee, and we wanted to do that. And for our 4th birthday, he gave us uniforms. And then we realized what the uniforms came with, and it was training. And I cried. I think we cried the first few classes. We didn't want to do it. And then a little bit of motivation. That was him basically saying, get your ass in the class now. I'm guessing if you pay for the uniforms. Get your ass in the class now, and that's it. And I think what motivated us to get into it was basically no choice, but of course liking that Bruce Lee image, and the kicks and the punches and watching the other people on the floor. What kept us in it was a totally different thing. We were raised in a single household. Parents were separated, and my mother had 4 of us. So it was me, my twin, my younger brother Anthony, 2 years younger than my sister Melissa, who was 3 years younger. And we would fight each other all the time. We would be very, very hyper. And I think that what kept us doing it was learning how to focus and kind of feeling like that brotherhood. You know how it is. I mean, even outside the dojo, inside the dojo, that sense of being a part of a team and being called by your dojo name, and it was a good feeling. But and it also brought us closer together, me and my siblings, because we always had something in common to talk about. So definitely something to keep us in, at least at an early age.
You know, what I find pretty fascinating also is that And, your mother, Carlene, and I have become extremely, extremely good friends. I consider her like a sister, and we fight like brothers and sisters, too. But what's really interesting is that it seems like to me that she's one of the martial arts big fans. And, I tell her often, we have 4 out of your 6 children so far that have black belts. There's one that might end up being better than all of them because he's actually being taught by you and the rest of the older siblings. But, how many people have 4 children that literally are not just black belts, but exceptional black belts? I think it's pretty cool.
I think, what it is my mother was around that town in the 70s and 80s. I guess during the time when she was with my father, but she built relationships and friendships with people. So of course, even after they separated, she was still in the club. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure she's trained also. I don't think back in those days rank really was anything huge, but it was about fighting in garages and rooftops and basements and stuff like that. And guys would tell me stories like, I remember when your mother would spar and kick around the punch, but she was just still part of that group, the fan. She loved watching it. And when we were younger, she was part of that decision of you're going in and you have no choice, you got to do it. But having 4 black belts in a household, I think having black belts in life is what she was working on. She didn't care how bad we could kick or punch or who we were fighting or what we were doing. She wanted to make sure she created black belts in life. So she was the Shihan in the house, and it was her house and it was her rules, and she taught us lessons that helped us a lot more than any kicks or punches or some other things that we've done in the dojo. Some of those lessons. And she also exposed us to people. And her father, which is my grandfather, the person I was named after, he was a great reference point. That was a man that I looked at and I said, that's my reference point. That's the man I want to be, at least, he worked hard. He had 6 children. He had 22 grandchildren. He was just that man, and he was respectful to everybody. So I think having a family, unit. As you see, me and my brothers get together, and my sister, it's always martial arts talk. It's always we're always on that topic, and because it's something that kind of binds us together. But at the same time, not having a father in the household, and we were there during the visitation times and stuff like that. That was kind of our connection with him. So it was a little bit more personal than just going to the dojo and training. At the same time, our training didn't stop in the dojo. I guess that's benefit and or the curse of.
Right, so let me just ask you a question. So, because you guys were his children, obviously you guys got an easy break, right? You were able to go through your system with a little, how would you say, silver spoon in your mouth? Or am I wrong?
No, not at all. I'll tell you, I think a lot of people, especially when they look at second generation, third generation martial artists, that's their first a theory or first thought. And I think if I was on the outside of the box, I probably would think the same way. But the thing about it is the lessons didn't stop in the dojo. The lessons were every time we've seen him 24 hours a day. Anything we've done outside the dojo, you got it in the dojo for it. Some of the things he taught us, whether it was good or bad, the lessons were always going on. It didn't stop, for 3 days a week or 4 days a week, 1 hour a day. It was all the time. And at the same time, we fell in love with it. We fell in love with training. We fell in love with the idea of training. We'd be up early in the morning for school, and we'd be stretching before we went to school. And here we are, 8 or 9 years old. We get out of school by about 3:30. We're out in the backyard. We're stretching out. We're ironing our uniforms. We were younger, or making sure our uniforms are fine, and then getting to the dojo. And we would get there at about 4:30. His classes started, and do a 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6:30 class. And then he had a 6:30, 7:30 class. Sometimes we'll hop in, sometimes we didn't. And then his adult class started at 8 o'clock at night. And then probably around 14 years old is when we would kind of jump into adult class. And that class would end about 9:30 at night. And while all the students left, my brother, more specifically me and GJ Jr., would stick around. We would stick around, and there'd be times, it was great having a key for the dojo at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. But we'd be out there, we'd be there at 1 o'clock in the morning. Mom calling the dojo, find out where we're at, trying to find out where we're at. Back then there wasn't a cell phone, so she couldn't call up and flip out on my father, wondering where we're at. But sometimes he didn't even know. He thought we were locking up once the students left, and they all left. But we will be in there sparring and try to, work out things on our own. And here we were, like I said, we were younger. And then once we got into our teenage years, that's when it was sticking around, working with the adults. And he also had a rule. You could not earn your black belt till you were 18 years old, no matter how ready you were. And here we were, started when we were very young, and we watched students pass us up. People that started after us, people that we felt we were better than, or had more skill or more experience than, they would pass us up as far as ranks are concerned, and he wouldn't move us. And it would take 2 years, 3 years to test for the next rank. Or if we left the dojo, and that was something that my brothers can definitely concur with, if you left the dojo for whatever reason whatsoever, if you came back as a white belt. And the highest rank we got was brown right before, the closest we could be to a black belt. And left the dojo for basketball and baseball, came back and said, hey, listen, we wanted to work on the sports, and we came back as solid white belts, or, pure, crispy clean white belts, and then we had to start all over again. And that was 1995. Yep, right down to white belt. And the thing he said to us was, if you ever leave again for any reason whatsoever, don't come back. Can't train no more. Because we would leave for those.
Wow. So what you're talking about basically was that when most people might have took the average 4 years to get their black belt, whether it's a junior black belt, what have you, you guys would put through the entire gamut of yesteryear in the belief that an 18-year-old was the only thing. All right, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so how about we talk about your transition from what would be just dojo to some form of competition as a teenager? You have some great stories, I believe, when you was traveling to different parts of the city, or I should say of the state, including New York. So let's talk about that little era for a second.
Well, we actually started competing very young. It was like Pee-wee divisions, and at the time it was local tournaments, if I remember correctly. Stuff he did at the YMCA. We had BKG, which is a dojo that have been around forever. Their tournaments that we were just Pee-wee fighters. I remember getting the wind knocked out of me and crying a lot when I fought back then. But when we maybe 12 years old is when we really were thirsty for competition. And we saw him competing. We saw some of his friends competing and the guys that were around him. So we started taking trips up north to like Jonas School, Eugene Floyd's school in Irvington. And that was kind of his cruise. So we would go up to their schools and then to their competitions or their friends' competitions. And that's when it kind of started the niche or the hunger for competition. And I think when maybe I want to say 15 years old is when we really started loving it, and we wanted to compete everywhere, and we begged to compete everywhere, and that's when we started taking trips to the Bronx, which were some of the baddest fighters, man. They were, the hard fighters. I mean, once you cross that river, and you get into New York, it was a different ball game. I kind of remember that transition from going from like Gary Alexander's tournaments, BKG tournaments, from the Jersey tournaments. We did a couple things in Philadelphia, but we were younger, and here we are, 15 years old, fighting in the Bronx and in Queens. And these guys were nuts, man. I mean, the teenage guys our age were unbelievable. And it was almost like, that the point competition was like real fighting. You bled when you walked out. I got my nose broke. I got my nose broken when I was, young. Dislocations, bruised ribs, concussions. And this was like 15, 16, 17 years old. And it all came with it. And it all came with, I guess, the package deal. But we loved it. We loved the war wounds. It may sound sick. It may sound crazy because I think some people like, why would you enjoy that? But coming back to school with a black eye, and then basically tell a story like, hey, we went out with the bronze to the floor, in a competition, and growing up, I think the stigma of karate people was, of course, different with people that weren't in martial arts. So when you said you got into a tournament fight and you got a black eye for that, or you this, that, whatever, I broke my wrist. Now here I'm in the splint because I punched a guy and caught him in the hip instead of hitting him in the ribs. A lot of the kids didn't understand until you started inviting some of your friends to the competitions, and they start taking a ride, and they start noticing that, at least especially then in the 90s, it was. I think it was a lot about reputation. I'm guessing
it was a different time. You know what's interesting? Like, for whatever it's worth, I'm going to be a half a century older in a matter of days. I should say January. When I think about 1995 or 1996, to me is like just the other day. And I think you know a little bit of my history in terms of when I started fighting black belt men. And those of you who are listening, I'm sure you don't want to hear the story again, but just out of curiosity, yeah, give me your insights about that era too, in terms of, because I remember being you guys have worked. I've read magazines. I used to read the magazines. I used to travel for hours.
I'm going to be dropping down on myself, and the statute of limitations is up a little bit, a couple things. So I'll get into a couple things. Now, first of all, the name Jerry Fancy Fontanez was very well known since I was younger. You've always heard the name Fancy Fontanez. Yeah, I think we might have spot you at a few tournaments, like maybe in New York, maybe it was Queens or the Bronx, or around there, or of course, since you're from the Bronx, everybody knew you and everyone spoke of you, especially my father's friends from up north, and you heard your name in not much in those circles, but as a national competitor and kind of, and different things. It was back then, it was hard. I think, especially when being a second generation martial artist, it was tough because, if you beat one of his sons, then you just, I guess you're just as good. I don't know if it was about it, and then of course dojo wars, man. We had a rivalry. Unbelievable rivalry between different schools, and sometimes the only ones on the team was me and GJ Junior, and then when Anthony kind of got of age, he hopped in there, and then it was three of us, and fighting. They had 5-man teams, and we had 3 of us, and 2 of us had to fight twice, and that's just the way it was. And then you would want to step up a division back then. I had a mustache and goatee, and a receding hairline starting at 15 years old. So being able to hop into the 18 to 34-year-old division was easy to do. And sometimes, if you jump in the ocean like that and you can't swim, you learned your lesson and you kind of went back down to your division, 15 or 16 years old. But then probably around 16, going closer to 17, that's when we started focusing on the 18 and up division and fighting with the adults. And you win some, lose some, but learn something every time. Prime example, Junior found a video of 17 years old fighting in the men's division, and here he is tearing it the hell up. And now that we're on the flip side, we're the older guys, and we just crossed over that threshold to the 35 and over division. But when we were 33 and 34 years old, and these 18-year-olds were fighting in the competition, man. We hate them probably as much as the elders hated us, because we understand that you're going to be faster, you're going to be more fit, you're not going to have certain things that the 18-year-old, the 19-year-old, 20-year-olds have, and then you kind of have that little bit of a bitterness because you're like, oh man, if I was still had it. And I think a lot of people fall into that rut. God bless those, including yourself, man, that don't let age kind of stop you. When you're in there to do your job or you're in there to do the work, there's no excuse such as I'm getting too old, or I'm old man, or listen, bro, and as far as Rob and Don, when we talk about that era, they had like Inside Karate Magazine, Inside Kung Fu, I think it was. When we were kids, we couldn't afford it, the magazines, so we used to go and spend 25 cents for the press. Like I said, statute of limitations was up. This is bad. I don't condone it. But we used to slide those magazines into the newspaper, because the magazines were like $1.50 or $2 or something like that. And we used to slide the newspaper and buy the newspaper for $0.25 so we could get our karate magazine and see what's going on. And I think our old Black Belt magazine, some money. There's quite a few of them that were stuff in newspapers. We got it for 20.
Well, you know what? That's something that. I probably would have done the same thing, but they had pretty good security in the Bronx. I never trusted those guys that were selling the news. If I was in Jersey, I probably would have done it.
When we were younger, and my father, he would do a lot of the traveling, like on flights, doing that stuff. Wherever we could drive, we would drive to. But we were in a rich dojo at all, and to travel and go out, cross country was tough, and we'd be able to see stuff. You hear about these guys, and then to be able to see them in magazines, and hear about the national teams and yourself, and like Price and like Young and even of course Kevin Thompson was right there up north, so we see him all the time. Mafia Holloway and Nasty. When you hear those names and unable to really see them because the competitions we were going to, especially when I was younger, teenager, which were the local tournaments, not the national competitions, but being able to see them in the magazines was like just as good seeing their your guys, your records, your back rounds, stuff like that. And at the same time, we were b-boys, man. We loved breaking. So when you hear about Sassy Fontanez and the Rock City crew, you're like, what? It's like, oh, it's not, man, because it was the same two loves that my brother had, dancing and the martial arts. And then you transition your martial arts into your dancing into your martial arts. If you look at us in our teenage years, when we fight, sometimes we come out once in a while, we'll top rock to shake up the footwork to try to confuse the competitor. We'll do flares to sweep somebody, and do what would be considered freezes, like one-hand freezes, but to transition it from this cartwheel kick or the touchdown, or and it came from b-boying, and to see that here's a national fighter, Boricua, and he's a dancer. That's where we always kept that name, and then when we spot you a couple times, in the winner's circle, like, man, he's over there getting the crowd's going. He's an MC in a karate competition. You don't see that. An MC, I'm talking about like hip hop artist MC in a karate tournament and got the crowd going. And we say, hey, oh, hey, and that was fun.
That in some circles that's pretty infamous, and some is very popular and famous or memorable. Okay, so we're talking about martial arts and the collaboration between hip hop and movement, which is something that I remember when I spoke to your sister the first time, she thought it was kind of crazy, so she said, it kind of seems like he's our uncle. Because we kind of look like him.
Yeah, of course, it knows, man.
Yeah.
I think what it is, especially like I said, we grew up in the hip hop culture. Don't get me wrong, I love all music. I wasn't really big in the country or that hard rock stuff, but a lot of different music. And my grandparents, they loved. We had a big influence with our grandparents. So when it came down to music, I'm talking about Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson. Fred Astaire with his dancing. James Brown, which was kind of a little later in years. Chuck Berry. The Rat Pack's music. That stuff was what we loved watching. We wouldn't sit there and watch Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movies and Houdini instead of David Copperfield. Like in my grandparents' house, that's what it was. It was like Nick at Night, you know, I guess like I Love Lucy stuff that they have these days when you see the reruns. That was their house all the time. So to appreciate the past and respect the past, respect that stuff, and then the hip hop culture. Not just the early stuff. You know, even as it grew into like the '90s, even the Wu-Tang, even Nas. You know, but I'm talking about even before that, the Daz Effects and you know, the Foo Snickers, like the Fast Rhymers, and then of course the battles. So to relate it to martial arts, you're like, wait a second, different styles. You know, the battles, the proving ground. You know, the representing of your hood or your neighborhood or your state or your region or whatever. Martial arts and hip hop is alike, and it shows right there. You know, the guys who be able to spit a certain, you know, combinations. Boom. Oh shit. You know, you know, that's why I think why that transition.
You know, I'm not sure if you ever watched, but there was an interview done by a gentleman that I'm actually interviewing this week, C4 Willie Bam Johnson, and it's we're talking about the collaboration of hip hop and martial arts. And in that interview, what I would let him know basically is that when you talk about Grandmaster this and Master that, well, that all came from Kung Fu movies because hip-hop started in New York, and we were in 42nd Street watching the Kung Fu movies for $2, watching 3 movies. And Bambaataa,
Five Fingers of Death.
Oh, you name it. From Five Fingers of Death, which was the first international film, all the way to Fist of Fury, which was the second one that came out, known to us as Fist of Fury, but was originally known as The Big Boss. And then
they still do that on Sway in the Morning. You ever see the Five Fingers of Death? Having the guys freestyle over 5 different beats. They still do it.
Oh wow! Well, I'm a little bit out of the loop when it comes to what considered hip hop, because that's a story that has become a little sadder to me even than what was point karate and now known as pointless karate, as I labeled it. But it's nice that I know the hip hop culture has prevailed worldwide in many circles. It's just not part of the pop culture any longer. But you know, I'm happy to say that I was right when it came to me telling Lex to bring Rocksteady back. You know, and it was a phenomenal situation. I wish you guys would have been at the 1991 Kevin Thompson tournament, because that's where Crazy Legs, Mr. Wiggles, and myself performed with Totally Awesome that had Time of the Last Dragon, which was around the time that you, I guess, started karate. You was 5 years old, it seemed like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, see, just to go back, even when we talk about, I mean, as you mentioned, The Last Dragon. When I was younger, you had 2 movies. You had The Karate Kid, and then you had The Last Dragon. And The Karate Kid was, and this may, this is just my opinion. A lot of people may not agree. The Karate Kid back then gave, in my opinion, just probably a little bit of a bad stigma towards martial arts, because you had a kid who trained with a janitor for a few months and then beat all the black belts in tournament, and that wasn't reality. It doesn't work that way. As an adult, I look back, I go, hey, if I had a choice to train, with the janitor that teaches you to wash his cars and all this other stuff, and then transition into martial arts, which is great because we all, even from slavery times, that's how it was. It was hidden. The arts were hidden in the everyday activities. So I understand that and I appreciate that. But I probably would have trained with John Kreese in the Cobra Kai Dojo. I mean, just in my opinion, because I hit first, hit fast, hit hard. The whole No Mercy was a little bit, over the top. But then The Last Dragon came out, and I think especially for people that love music, when we were younger, you got to remember, I probably watched The Last Dragon and remembered it a couple years even after it came out, because I was very young when it came out. But when maybe 7 or 8 years old, 6 or 7.
It literally came out 30 years ago.
So you got to figure, okay, if it came out in 85, so probably about 86 or 87 is when we kind of watched it, because maybe at 5, maybe I remember a little bit about it. I remember Bruce Leroy. I remember the Who's the Master. But at the same time, those two movies coming out around the same time was it's almost the kung fu versus the doju, movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Miyagi's system, right? Wasn't he teaching goju?
Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm.
But back then, of course, is appreciative because it helped out. I'm sure a lot of dojos get business with the Karate Kid movie. But as I got older, I think when you start dissecting a little bit, you start realizing that is a little different. I think what I loved about The Last Dragon was, you kind of had a little bit more feel that the hip hop feel that I don't know, musical feel, and then of course it's done in the streets. You see that the guys watching the Kung Fu Theater or the Fist of Fury or Chinese. Well, what were they watching? Enter the Dragon in the theater, like that scene. It wasn't done in like, I guess Karate Kid was kind of like, if I looked at them both, one was like West Coast, based in California, the other one was based in like New York. You know what I'm saying? And we always represent the East Coast. It was just I think a little bit more feel.
Now, this is my question. Did you want to go to Daddy Green's Pizza? Is my question.
I'm sorry?
Did you want to go to Daddy Green's Pizza?
Directing your pizza to Daddy Green's Pizza. Yeah, man.
Hey, you know what? Again, for those of you who are listening, most of you probably know that Timeout is literally my best friend. We've been friends since 1980. Obviously, we're going to do a phenomenal power talk with him and a few other things in the very near future, because he's one of those guys that pretty much looks about the same, if not maybe even a little better physically now, and he's older than me for what it was worth, But, okay, so let's just fast forward a little bit, because obviously it's going to have to be a few parts, because there's a lot of information here.
But
I'm going to ask you, yes.
If I can say one thing, just even regarding both ends of that spectrum, when I just comparing those two movies that came out around the time when I was younger that was kind of inspirational. Timeout was actually a fighter, so as I got older, I go, man, actually could fight. So and then of course I love the fact that we have YouTube today, so it's proven. But what happens is I remember, if I can remember clearly, and I'm not going to mention any names, of course, is that, but I remember people saying, "Man, I'm not wearing shit, man. He ain't shit." Like man, all those guys in the movies, they ain't nothing. And I'm going, as a kid, you don't listen. You're looking at, I'm looking at this guy perform techniques, and then only years later, I think when me and you met, I saw tapes, and I'm like, whoa, look at the legs, man. Look at the combinations, man. He's pulling them off, man. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Well, what I did, plain and simple, is I got tired of having to, so to speak, argue for my boy. I said, Ty, I want you to come out of retirement and compete on my team. The first tournament back, he actually won grand champion. He won grand champion at the Karate Internationals, like Mike Disasquale Jr., right here in New Jersey, and he took grand champion fighting. Now, there was another tournament where I actually eliminated him. I remember Wesley Snipes was in the audience there too. But when him and I fought, it wasn't for first place. It was for grand champion. He beat Jesse Ray and George Calderon, who was an incredible fighter, and Tony Morrison. So he beat a bunch of people that were big deal names at a tournament called the Twin Tower Classic, which back then the Twin Towers was even more competitive than it is now. But there were people from all over the world there. And Ty ended up that one season, 1991, taking grand champion runner-up and winning grand champion at another tournament. So, for whatever it's worth, he's one of the most disciplined martial artists to this very day, and you've never seen him out of shape. He's always in phenomenal shape. But, yeah, I think it was pretty cool. I even brought him to my events, and I started throwing tournaments back in 2008 to human events. But, props to Ty. Props to Ty. Hey, okay, so let's just fast forward a little bit. Let's get to what would be, for whatever it's worth, and this might be a little off the cuff for a second, and I'm not sure if it was you or your brother or a combination of both of you, that contacted me via MySpace back, I would have to say, 2006 maybe? I'm not even sure. Quite a while ago.
All right, so this was, okay, so it's before, I know what it is. You know how, I mean, first of all, I have to mention that your memory is unbelievable. When you could tell me exact dates in the 80s and 70s, I'm like, damn, man. Like, my memory's okay, but just tell me dates, like specific, like July 15th. I'm like, what? like I can tell you, like, oh, it's that time when I was kind of like, that's back when I was sporting the mohawk, like I knew that, like that. But you could tell me dates, and so yeah.
Hey, well, let me just publicly say this, guys. My brain, unbeknownst to most, and even though they thought otherwise, is not on drugs.
well, see, and at the same time, what I do like is the fact that you would tell me about dates and tell me about times, especially when we first met, and then show documentation, like videos come out, or somebody else has a video and they post up, and you go, they think I'm bullshit, and don't test me on my memory, because it's right there, it's documentation. A lot of people back then, maybe they didn't have the ability to do so. But I mean, you look at yourself, you look at like Billy Beeson, that kept documentation. So nobody could talk to shit later, years later. We used to be asked, why did we videotape at competitions? Why did we videotape at different things, this, that? And it's not to put up highlights and embarrass anybody a lot. For the most part, I would hit somebody up and say, hey, listen, you mind if I post that match? If they beat me or I beat them, we post the match. It doesn't matter, as long as they're cool with them. One thing that I can say, I try to be as respectful as possible. But we keep documentation, because when I'm in my 50s and you get those, the trolls or the haters, those same people that may run their mouth like they would do with you, it's like, wait a second, hold up, give me a second. I got to dig in my crate for a second, because do I have to show you a mirror to who you are? I want to remember exactly the exact saying, and I don't want to say it wrong, so I'll think about it and I'll come back with it. But you said it, and it keeps me, don't stop telling lies about me, and I'll stop telling the truth about you. so that's, when you. By the way,
that's the right that is the right statement. I did not create it, but I did use it. That was used in the movie Wall Street Part 2.
Yeah, and bro, when you said that, I said, listen, you know what? One thing for sure, you'll, good, bad, or indifference, you'll tell something and then you'll back it up with whether it's documentation and or, doing it. But when we are, so MySpace, so I'm searching around MySpace and something comes up and it says, I don't remember if it's a Jerry Fontanez or Jerry Fancy Fontanez, but I went, oh shit. Now you got to figure the last time I kind of heard the name was probably late 90s, because we I started college. I wasn't competing as much. Quite a few local tournaments, not many up north or out west. And then I went, so right away, of course, friend request. And at the time, you had things going on and stuff like that, man. And I remember sitting there saying, listen, you know what? I'm gonna send an inbox to this guy. He never met me in person. I've watched him. I've heard about him. I saw him in the magazines. I'm gonna send him a message. And even like back then, we see the same thing that happens now on Facebook. You have celebrities, or you have people that have 1,000 friends, whatever, 5,000, 10,000 friends, and you think, if I send this person an inbox, they won't write me back, because I'm just a guy or a kid, whatever. So I sent the message, and I says something along the lines of, yo, because I guess that's a universal, whatever. Like, yo, Jerry Fancy Fontanez, man, you're the man, this man. I remember fucking catching people with techniques that, nobody else was doing, man. You're killing it. Your setups for your hands and this and that, and and you could b-boy, man, and this and that, good stuff. And that was it. Like I put like, everything I wanted to say or whatever into one message and just sent it. I went, okay. And I think it was like a couple of days later, I came back in and I think he even said, I even asked, like, you don't know my father, I don't remember him, this, that. And then you got back to me, he says, oh yeah, I remember your father, he almost broke one of my Rexes because his head was too big for the hole. And I was like, oh, snap. And
it's true.
You work with erections, like erections, But and then so Jay came on. And I was like, yo, man, you remember Fast Feet? He said, yo, absolutely, man. And then he starts writing. So now we both request you as friends, and we both have friends, and now we see your pictures and all this other stuff. And I remember the Source magazine article when I was younger, and we read the Source because we were hip hop heads, And I'm like, yo, man, you remember that? This that, because to see a martial artist in the Source magazine back then, was also a great feeling too. So we started liking pictures, and commenting this and that kind of went, opened up a dialogue back and forth. And then since then, I've been asking 1,000,001 fucking questions, man. Been asking, excuse my language. We're from Jersey. I guess we talk that way. I guess some people think that it's lack of discipline. Listen, man. Come to Jersey where you bust your ass to work and you have to pay more taxes and more everything else than everybody else, and you probably have the same language. But New York, I guess you got to feel in the same way. But yeah, we're back and forth, and I ask you a lot of questions, man, and build with you a lot. And since then, we kicked it off, man. Trained together.
Well, there was a day that your father actually invited me to an event, and I actually showed up.
I think the first time was I was in front of, I want to say the first time I saw you in person, I want to say was in front of my dojo in Red Bank. Me and my brother were out there. That might have been the second time, but I think
the actual first time was when your father had a dinner, and I met you guys, and we actually had a nice experience.
Okay, I know what you were actually doing other interviews that day. You got a camera with you, and you're doing interviews with some of the guys at the table. And I know I was in an all-black suit with a fedora and stuff like that, and that's the one picture you, Jay, and I took. That was the first time we got met in person, but we've been talking like crazy for a period of time, maybe 3 or 4 years online. And then, came in, and then and you hang out at the table, and everybody was happy to see you as soon as you walked in, and but you were doing the 300 interviews, and I was like, yo, so what are you doing? Oh man, I'm interviewing my 300 people, and you interviewed somebody there. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was George Creighton. There's somebody that you interviewed. I'll get it. Or Bill Fong with somebody, and then you came out and b-boyed, man. Music came on for the reception area. And came out and b-boyed, and you and Jay teared it down, man. It was good stuff. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. We just did a martial arts event. We were all talking about martial arts. People getting awards. I think Jay and I both got inducted into the Hall of Fame that he did then. And then when the party started, we were able to see the master at work, man. And you came out there and did your thing, man. And then kind of kicked off from there, yeah.
Yeah, and I think shortly after that, that's when I moved over to Tinton Falls after having some major madness happen in my life, and I went and I was in front of that school. Like you said, I had went by a few times, but I guess I was dropping off the nanny earlier this time. I actually walked in because I used to come in between. I believe at the time you was also a police officer. Let's talk about the law enforcement. I think you and your brother, I believe, were involved in martial arts in a few different ways, different stages. We actually went to college. Let's talk about that because I think that really, really, to me, is important so people know that you actually have some credibility in other areas besides just.
Well, all right. The high school time, which kind of started it off. We left a small town school system, and we got into a school system. It's called the Asbury Park school system. And Asbury Park is a tough little city here on the East Coast. And we had family that lived in Asbury Park, and we kind of went back and forth. But we knew that, it's a tough city. Here we were, 15 years old, freshman year of high school, and you fought. It was fighting. And it just, and fighting going in, fighting coming home. especially if you weren't from the town or from the city. So when you took the bus there and you got off the bus, you knew, like, man, I got to get to my class as fast as possible because I'm going to want to train today. But there was too many fights and a lot of different things. And you know, it's the 90s, man. No, you know, even then, nobody fought. It wasn't one-on-one. So here you are trying to fight 2 or 3 people at a time. You're coming home with black eyes, coming home with busted lips. You know, you get called. You know, mom's getting called from the superintendent telling them that we're being suspended because we're fighting, and we're like, wait a second, we're the ones that came in here. Mom, we never got in trouble in the middle school. Now here we are in high school. Now we're getting into fights. We're just picking fights with people that we don't know in their territory. You know that's not true. But long story short, she says, there's nothing I can do. You guys got to focus. You know, do what you got to do. And we did. We busted our asses, and we tried the best we can to be able to function in the school. But then at the time we had teachers striking, walking out, stuff like that was happening, and it was just it was like a different culture because that's not what we were used to. We used to just go to school, get out of education. You couldn't get in trouble at school because mom whoop your ass. When you got to the dojo, dad got you, and it got you bad. And so getting into these fights, my mother would kind of understand because she kind of grew up in this area. So she was like, guys, just keep out of trouble. That's it. Don't get in trouble. My father was different. He was like, you fucked up, got into a fight, TV dots for 2 hours in the corner. It was ridiculous. But anyways, I said, Mom, we want to quit. We got to quit school, and it was probably a dumb decision, but she felt bad, man. We were fighting all the time, I guess. And it was, and you're winning some, you're losing some. I mean, I guess you won them all because we got home at the end of the day. But when your face is swollen out and you're like going to school with a black eye and you got people clowning you because they got that shot off, and you're like, yo, dude, I caught you with a couple too, man. I didn't just sit there and get beat, but it was just hard. So we quit school at 16 years old. My mother said you got two options. You either go back to school, so I had to find a way to get you into another school, or you go to work. And we went, we're going to go to work, Mom. So we started working in public works down here in the town that we lived in, where we were cleaning the beaches or, helping out public works, the leaves and stuff like that. And we got paid $5.05 an hour, 16 years old. And at the time, you were supposed to have working papers and only work, 20 hours a week or something like that. That didn't work like that. We worked 40 hours a week, and every dollar that came in, we gave to our mother. Every dollar. That was just a given. We didn't, we gave it to her, and then she gave us back what we needed for whatever. When so we got back into school, 17 years old. So we did a year in the workplace, and now we're a year back in school. And 17 years old, we went back to school. It was September of that year. Started school, and it was an adult high school at nighttime. And everybody in our class was significantly older than we were. But when we got in there, we started noticing there was a little bit more leniency, of course, because you didn't have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to get the hall pass. You just left, and we kind of went in there with the same mentality we had. So of course, you look a little funny, young kids going in there, raising your hand. I need to use the bathroom, but we kind of grew up a little bit more because you were around adults, involved in conversations with the adults in class regarding certain educational stuff and this, that. And then you became friends with people who are now older than you are, significantly older, like actually friends. So you're invited to barbecues or whatever took place in the span. This is a kid from my class, and here we are, 17 years old. But I was very interested since I was very young in law enforcement because, I wouldn't say very young because probably around the early 90s, our image of law enforcement was bad. I mean, this is, as we see what's going on, when we see what's going on today, this is not like what's going on today in the news. All this took place this last couple of years. This has been going on for decades. But 1991, we watched Rodney King get beat up. We're kids, and we're watching cops beat up a man on the news. So our image of police officers was tough. Like, man, you're supposed to be afraid of them. Probably around 94, 95. I watched. I saw two different exchanges with police officers. One in the city, in the town I live in, and one of the next door town. Of two great police officers, very nice guys. They were just remarkable guys, and that kind of sparked an interest. I want to become a police officer, man. I want to do something different. I want to be a superhero. That's what I want to be. I want to be a superhero, the one the people call when they need help. And in '97, I took a vocational course in law enforcement. But Jay, my brother, my twin, he was doing something different. And he really didn't have much of an interest in that, but I was like hungry for it, man. So I joined this law enforcement course, which was taught by the detective lieutenant from New York City, retired. And he would come in and we would meet in a trailer in Long Branch, New Jersey, which was about a half hour away from where I live now, another city on the coast. And this old school New York lieutenant would just tell us these stories about what took place in like Harlem, or what took place in like the South Bronx, stuff like that, places that he was posted throughout his career, and some of the stuff, and we're like, wow, man. And then we learned a lot, not just from the stories, but Jay and I started excelling in the class. So I said to Jay, I said, listen, man, it's not too late. They could get you in the class, they could slip you in, but you should get involved in this too, man. I'm telling you, a lot of good information. So they were able to fit him in, and he got into the class, and the way the instructor explained it, like the class was great, this, that. The way the instructor explained it, these guys sat in my class, and I didn't even think they were going to pass or anything because they looked so distracted. Now, maybe I wasn't underdiagnosed, whatever, but I'm sure we had ADD, but he says, you guys didn't look focused at all, and next I put an exam in front of you guys, and you're getting hundreds on exams for the vocational course. And he says, you know what, we have, I think, a different way of learning. Since it was one of those kind of really lax schools, you could put on headphones while doing your work, and the teachers didn't mind. So we'd put in earbuds, and this is before MP3s or any of those stuff. We had CD Walkmans. And so this is like '97, and we would listen to music while taking this exam or doing other different paperwork. But we listened when it came down to his whatever he said. But anyways, that kind of kicked off the interest. And so the end of the season, or the end of the semester of that vocational course, you had a choice to choose at internship. So you had to do your classroom time, 300 hours or whatever it was, and then you had to do 300 hours of internship or externship, whatever they call it at the time. And they gave us 4 different options. 3 of those options were law enforcement places, a corrections, a county jail. Another one was a juvenile jail, and the other one was a university police department for a college campus. The 4th one was the Asbury Park Housing Authority, which was the project development. A lot of bodies dropped in that place, huh? Man, this is a tough place, man. But what happens is we sat there. I said, Jay, and we were 17 years old. I was driving an '85 Chevy Nova. The thing was, we called it the gray goose. The thing putted down the street, sounded like a goose when you beat the horn. I said, Jay, there's, the 3 other places are a distance away from us, but this housing authority is only literally 5 minutes driving distance away from us. We should go to the housing authority. At 300 hours, we could do it. So when we first got into there, they put us in these senior citizens' homes, and we were like the door guards, learning how to be door guards and how you doing, welcome to the Robinson Tower or Lumley Buildings, whatever it may be. So we're like, oh, good. So we're going to do our 300 hours right here at the senior citizens' sites, not the Boston Way, not the Lincoln Village, not the Washington Village, and not the Asbury Park Village. Which is where the crime areas were. That was definitely a bad guess, because we did about a week there, and he brought us right to the belly of the beast. Now, here we are, 17 years old, in the middle of the projects. He scheduled our internship hours in the beginning from 11 o'clock midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning. 11 o'clock midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning. We were doing a midnight shift in the projects. We wore these mechanic jumpsuits. If anyone looked at my Facebook,
whoa, you was with the zombies.
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you, it was
because the thriller.
I'm telling you, that's when all the basically all the zombies came out. You know, you can look down what's called Springwood Avenue at that time, and it looked like a thriller video of zombies walking down the street because with the extracurricular activities that were going on at the time, especially at nighttime in a city like that. So you were very cautious, and of course it was all different type of elements. Like remember, we came from the high school of the city. We kind of went through the battle of the high school for the first half year, and some of our family members lived in the outskirts of the city, and now we're in the belly of the beast, and we're going, man, this is not going to be good. 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock the next morning. That's what it was. 11 to 7, 8 hours. Yeah. We had mechanic jumpsuits on. They zippered from the ankle all the way up to your neck. On the back with a big gold, patch that said security on it. They gave us these radios that barely worked, these flashlights, big long D-cell battery flashlights that didn't work, and that was
you were probably better off being a guardian angel.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man.
So you guys basically was a big target. Listen, and again, obviously one of the things that I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to have to cut you off because otherwise what's going to happen is that obviously we're not going to get to the martial arts part of it. But bottom line is that we can revisit this. You was able to go through a crash course of becoming a police officer, because obviously that's what you ended up doing. Your brother Jay chose not to do that, correct?
Well, all right, and I definitely will fast forward. I know I kind of got a little long-winded when we talked about a specific job. I think that was kind of the introduction to it. That's why I kind of really focused on that point. But so later on, 20 years old, I got lucky enough. I got hired as a beach cop. If you ever come down to the shore, anybody that ever sees the Jersey Shore, especially, you got those guys on bikes, or now they have them segways and shit, and they write your parking tickets. I was that guy. So it wasn't much of a meter maid, but it was like a step above the meter maid. I had a guy had handcuffs, a pure 24 baton, and pepper spray. That's it. And that kind of kicked it off because now I got my foot in the door, and I did a couple of years of doing that, like a couple of summers doing that, while I was finishing up school and go towards the degree. And I said, you know what? I want to do something different. I remember walking up to the chief. And this is the town I worked for, which is the town I live in. I said, listen, I want to go back to the academy. I want something more. And he told me the town, because we were in a very small town, don't have the money to send you to the academy. I said, damn, man, I've been here 2 seasons. I finished up school. I got some experience working in the projects. I think I was at the time in the winter time. I was working at the mall as a security guard. What else does he want from me? So I said to him, how if I pay for the academy? And he goes, what? I says, what if I pay for it? How much would it cost to pay for all the academy stuff? He said, well, not just academy. You have to buy all your uniforms. You have to buy your belt, your holster, your everything. You have to buy everything, every bullet that you shoot for firearms qualification, everything. I said, well, what's going to cost me? So he said, give me a second, let me check. And he goes through the whole thing, and it came up to about $4,200 by the time everything was done. And I said, wow, that's a lot of money for a 20-year-old who works security, making $10 an hour as a security guard at a mall. So, Mom understood my dream, and Mom says, we'll get the money up. So I think my father came up with some money, and then Mom came up with the significant amount of money, and then whenever I could put in for my measly $10 an hour paycheck. On top of that, my girlfriend was pregnant.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, and so everyone kind of got together, but at the time, my girlfriend is now pregnant, so I'm going, okay, girlfriend is pregnant, I'm 20 years old, I worked as a security guard in the mall, making $10 an hour, and now I'm about to go to the police academy that's going to take up 5 days a week, and so many hours a day, how am I going to be able to still work? Because I'm paying my way to the police academy, so they're not going to pay me. The police department's not going to pay me a paycheck while I go to the academy. I'm paying for my own way to go through. So I got to be able to try to work and go to the academy at the same time. So I left the mall. I got a job in Boscov's department store doing loss prevention, like store detective, and I did what was called EMS, early morning surveillances. So I got there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I worked at 1 o'clock. I got dressed and showered up and got to the academy by 5 o'clock at night because I did night class. I was at the night academy. I paid my way through. The other guys in class were fortunate enough not to pay their way through. You know, they got taken care of by the departments. I paid my way through. I went almost 10 months. It was 9 months, 3 weeks long, the academy. I graduated number 6 out of 50 people in my class. I was one damn bullet away from a perfect score for firearms qualification. PT award. I probably, there were so many guys that were in some great shape, but academically, number 6 out of 50 was good enough for me. I felt good. So when I graduated, now the kicker is the town that told me they couldn't afford to send me through, which was the town I was working as a bike cop, says to me, we don't have a position available for you. So I said, I'm going to graduate the academy and not have a job? Like, I just went 9, almost 10 months through, and I'm not going to have a job graduating? Like, what am I going to do? Like, that's crazy. We spent all this money, all this time. I shave my head every day so I can have it nice clean. Like, I bit my head. I busted my behind. I'm in great shape. Don't get me wrong, great shape. I paid a lot of money to get in this great shape, I guess, but I don't get a job. And I'm only working in the morning time doing this, stuff over at Boscov's. Shit, man, so I started applying everywhere.
And you were also going to be a father, or maybe was already.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh no, yeah. So you figure this is. I graduated May of that year. My daughter was born August of that year. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I said, the baby's on his way. 3 months, whatever. I think her due date was in September anyway. So I said in my mind, okay, we got 4 months, maybe I got to do something. I got to get a job. So I started applying for all these different towns, and then I got a couple interviews, and in this one city, Asbury Park, they brought me in, and they said, well, we're going to hire you, me, one other guy that was in my class, because he decided to leave the town he was working for to go to Asbury Park. But anyways, we go in, tore up the interview, got the job. Both were told, okay, you guys got in, you're in, this and that, go do the whole thing. So I'm hyped up, okay, got a job, baby's coming. Baby comes prematurely, like 3 weeks early. Shit. Now, but at the time, I still didn't start. Check this out. So this is May when I got hired for the department. They said to us, guys, we're going to be able to get you started on the first of that year. So now you're talking about 6 months, 7 months later, we were going to start because they needed to figure out make sure I guess their monies were right. Every year they got their budget together. But we're hired, so we're happy. So we said, okay, I can still battle this security job in the morning time. I'll have all day to be able to try to find other things. So doing karate, teaching karate, stuff like that, just trying to make a couple extra dollars, bouncing at clubs, doing anything I could get some extra money because the baby's on his way. It moves pretty fast. And I knew that I won't be able to start the police department until that January. So kicking off, just trying, still surviving for those 6 months. Baby comes along. So everything is nerve-wracking because the baby's now in the house. A week later, September 11th happens, and it shocked everybody, messed everybody up. Now, more companies are trying to hire security. So this was probably as tragic as it was for our country and in the world, in a sense. It was huge for the security companies, people that were involved in security, because now you have security jobs opening everywhere. So I, dabbled with a couple other different security jobs, doing different things just to survive till January when I started the police department. So as we get closer to the date, it was, I want to say, a week before Christmas, me and that guy that got hired in the city with me got called to come in to meet at the headquarters. We walked in. We're going, okay, we're about to get sworn in, I guess. They're gonna tell us what we need to do and have ready. And they told us that, unfortunately, we don't have the monies, and we have to retract the offer to the job. Oh, my God, man, when I tell you, now it's busting my ass. The baby's now born. She's only a few months old, and I'm hurt now because I'm like, we were promised. I mean, I guess, unless it's on paper, nothing means shit. And I was brokenhearted. Because now I'm like, I went to the academy. I waited these 7 months. I applied for all these towns. You told me we're hired. We welcome board guys and get you started the first year. Just stick my phone. We're gonna call you to come in when it's time to get the rest of the stuff together, the swearing ceremony, the uniforms, what have you. And I didn't look at any other town. I'm young, so I guess be naive. I put all my eggs in that one basket because that was the city that said that I was hired at, and to be told that that no, we don't have the money for it. So it breaks my heart. The other guy, I don't know wherever he ended up. Hopefully he's doing fine in life. He's a good guy. And then I had to kind of, get into these security companies, because that's what was going on. This is, post September 11th, and everywhere is hiring security. So I got myself involved into fugitive extradition, where I was traveling across the country and picking up prisoners and bringing them back to this state, to this county. Guys who jump bail out here. I started doing housing security, like anything to try to pay the bills because I got a baby in the house. Just anything that could kick off. And then we got closer to that next following summer, around April, May. And this one, my grandfather goes, "Hey, did you ever try to apply for this one town?" And I says, that town's not going to hire me. He goes, "Well, my friend's a councilman there. I wanted to choke my grandfather." What? What do you mean he's a councilman there? He says, "Yeah, I think, how long have you been a councilman there?" "A couple of years." When I got to bed, that could have been my hook because you know what? I kind of grew up with the whole mindset like a lot of people that says, I don't want nobody else's help. I want to do it myself. Listen, if you have that type of mindset and you want to do it by yourself, if you don't succeed, blame yourself. If you got an opportunity to get in, I say don't take your access for granted. If you have access to certain people that can help you along the lines, maybe they have the missing piece of your puzzle or something along that lines, don't just pass it up because of your ego or your pride, man. Just sometimes you gotta use that certain access to certain people. And I said, listen, everybody else is using the politics. Let me see what I can do because I'm a guy who just got shit on, who graduated in the academy, paid for our own way to go to the academy, and did everything I was supposed to do, and I got shit on. I'm the only one out of my 50 people in my class, or probably the other guy too, without a job. And so right away, get me in contact with a guy. I want to talk to him, see if I can set up an interview. Let me see what goes on. And that's what I did. I kind of got that ball rolling, interviewed, met with the chief, met with the captain, and they were very hospitable. I mean, very welcoming. They said, we understand. That you went through stuff, come on the board. So I started at that. It was a very, very rich, nice town on the shore, and I started there. That's where I really kicked it off and started working and doing police work. Yeah.
Wow. So you went from an affluent town on the Jersey Shore to, if I remember correct, you went right back where you started, which was Asbury Park.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Like I said, Asbury Park didn't hire me, and then I went. Then I like I said, broke my heart. I went to this really, really rich town, very political town, but it was give me that experience. I did 2 years there, and it was great. Loved the place, but then Asbury Park is hiring again, and that's when I get the word. Oh, Asbury Park's hiring. I just heard the word. So I took my resume. I ran down to the police department in Asbury Park. And I saw the secretary. She just happened to be in the other. Now, GM, Did you ever come to the point in your life sometimes, I know, or maybe certain situation where you went, if I wasn't at this place at that time, at that moment, this would have never happened?
That's true. I believe in that, yes.
I showed up at City Hall, and I just happened to see the secretary, who was the chief police secretary, in the lobby. And I said, how you doing? Her name is Miss Murray. I said, Miss Murray, listen, I don't know if you remember me. I got hired and something went bad. She goes, I remember you, right? What's up? I says, here's my resume. Can you let the chief, get the chief to see it? She goes, you know what? We're getting a lot of resumes in. And if anybody that works in the police field, especially when they're around a dispatcher, when people come in and give out their resumes or applications, a lot of times they end up in the bottom drawer of a desk. Like, I'm talking about the dispatcher's desk, because that dispatcher's probably trying to get hired too, and you're just the competition. That's just, honestly, sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. So I didn't want to hand this fucking resume to a goddamn dispatcher, or somebody at the police window. No. I said, could you please, make sure you get this to the chief. She was, Ray, I'll take care of it. Now, my house at the time was 5 minutes driving from Asbury Park to Bradley Beach, where I lived. Before I got home, I was at the time I was staying with my grandparents at their home, and my grandfather goes, Ray, you just got a call from the chief of police in Asbury Park, and he wants you to call him back. What? Like, I just left there. I just gave the resume to the secretary 5 minutes ago. So I called back, how you doing, sir? This and that. He goes, how fast can you get in here to do an interview? What? Today's the last day of the interviews. Well, I just heard about it, so I'm guessing by the time I got the news that they were hiring was the last, a couple of days. Yes, sir. Be right there. I never Gillette razored the hell out of my head or ironed a suit and got everything together because, of course, having a baby and all that stuff, I can't dry clean nothing. So I had nothing ready. But I got it ready in probably 13 minutes, man. And I was out the door. Running out the door, spraying cologne on myself, cuffing my breath to see if it smelled, just out the door. And I got back to the police station. Though it takes 5 minutes to drive, I got there in probably 2 minutes and 36 seconds or some shit. Very fast. I literally got this so quickly. By the time I jumped out and ran across the parking lot to get to the front door, I forgot my suit jacket in the car. Because I didn't want it to be wrinkled, so I took it off. So I had to run back, grab my suit jacket, put it back on, button it up, run back across the lot, walk in. When I walked back in, there was like 2 other guys sitting there waiting to be interviewed. I walk in, and now I look like the guy that should have played for court and didn't want the bench warrant, like that guy, the guy that's sweating. Oh, my God, what is up? And then, these guys look pretty confident, like, this guy's not getting it, because he just walked in, looked like, sweating bullets. And I went to the bathroom there, straightened myself out. I says, got in the zone. And what you would call an anchor, we talked about before, setting my anchor and going, you know what, Ray, that's it. This is it. Set your anchor. You're a character. The director said action. Now it's time for Clark Kent to become Superman. You know what I'm saying? It's get into character, and that's what I did. Boom, get myself into character. Whatever. And then I walked in there and popped my chest up, chin up, and looked in the chief's eyes and said, how you doing? This and that. And he says, Ray, sit down. This is going to take about 5 minutes. I apologize for what happened a couple of years ago. We ran into a situation and problems. I was on that hiring board at the time. Now, or it was, I guess, a year ago. So it was, but he wasn't the chief at the time back then too. It was a police director, but the police director was gone. Now he became the chief. But he said I was on the hiring board, and welcome aboard. That's it. That was the interview. I apologize for what took place last year. We didn't have the money to hire you. I was on that hiring board for doing your interview. Welcome aboard. Shook my hand, told me to go across the hall and get sworn in. Like that.
Wow. Well, it only took about 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. When I got there, man, it just kicked off, and working for a city, especially in urban areas, And we kind of came up that way too, because family and the different areas, so we kind of knew the town we lived in wasn't totally suburban, but it was like on that borderline. So, but to go in there and now find that you are now the guy enforcing laws and enforcing things, and then kind of seeing how people are really living. I mean, we started in the projects, working security, so we kind of had the idea of how bad people had it. But now to know that you have the power to make somebody's life better or ruin somebody's life, I remember the first year was my hardest, man. That's the probationary year, and morally, your mind is all over the place because you're like, my decision or what I decide to do today or with this call or this incident, whatever, will determine what's going to happen to this person today. And I could ruin their life. And I think that was too much power for a 21-year-old guy. In my mind, I just felt it was too much power for it being so young. And then, at the same time, my daughter is now, I don't know, almost a year old, and she's secure in her bed with her, her mother's at home with her. But then I'm going to houses where kids or my daughter's age don't got the things that, my daughter has. So it started making me feel like, am I privileged? Is this what it is? But in my mind, I felt like I was busting my ass struggling. Like I was struggling. And that's what I felt like. I'm working all these jobs struggling. I just finally made a break, when I got hired. I felt like I was struggling, and then I saw the real struggle. I saw what really took place, and it made me feel bad. It kind of made me, I think that kind of formed my mindset for the remainder of the law enforcement career, of how I handled things and how I treated people and how I interacted with people, because it was I guess somewhat of a culture shock on somewhat level or another. At the same time, it was a reality check that
Hey, wait 1 second. So, how many minutes away from where you were brought up are we talking about?
Maybe 5 minutes. I mean, you could walk on a boardwalk here and we'll end up in the city in about 5 minutes walk if you kept walking. But driving probably between 3 and 5 minutes. So we're right on the outskirts. You're getting the flood over, the issues flooding over into my town and the town next to me and stuff like that. So you're still somewhat in the shit, but at the same time, you're still in the culture too, man. I mean, as much as people listen, I don't care what people may feel about certain areas, man. You know how it is in the Bronx, South Bronx, or Spanish Harlem. You go there, the smelling the food, the hearing the music, stuff like that, right? It's almost the same thing, man. So when you hung out, you didn't want to hang out in the small town that I hung out. We want to go to Asbury Park.
The energy.
You wanted to play ball in the course behind the projects. You wanted to go to the breakdance battles or the freestyle ciphers. You remember when I was a kid, you got into the freestyle ciphers. Guys out there freestyling, and you were just like, yo, I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna see how I can hold some weight here. And so you.
If I remember correct, I mean the twins. In terms of your town, including your sister, your guys were like the local stars when it came to hip hop and rock and pop, boogie and breaking, performing.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, late '80s, they had a bandstand on the boardwalk, and every summer they would hold talent shows, and the talent shows would be done every week. So what happens is every week, if you won that week, it was almost like how the contest is today on TV. If you won that week, you get to come back next week, and so on. So we were early. I mean, we were early. Pardon me. We were young, and we would go up there and we would do anything like dance, try to sing and dance, try to do anything. We just want to get the following week. But if at the beginning of the summer, if you're not back to week 2 in the summer, so you weren't back for the rest of the summer. So I remember the first show was like 1989 or something like that. And we went up there, and I'm not gonna tell you what song or what group we did, but it wasn't hip hop. It was like a boy band, pop band, but it was me, my sister, and actually my cousin. Oh, I'm sorry, me, my brother G, and my cousin. Went up there, did it. We won the show. We kind of, we came back the following week. But we always loved dancing, so those talent shows stopped. The bandstand was ripped down during a storm in 1992. They rebuilt it with a big gazebo. Boardwalk became a brick walk. But we would be down there, and every Friday night they would have a DJ up there, DJing all the newest hits, 93, 94, 95, 96, all the way up. In 1997, we were out there in the middle of the circle because we would make our own circles. We would go out there and we were all b-boying and anything that we could pull off, and we would dress the same. They used to have a store called Value City. And Value City used to be able to get cheap clothes, like cheap windbreaker pants and cheap T-shirts and this and that. So we would go there and try to spend maybe $10 for an outfit for me, Jay, and my sister Melissa to all dress the same and come out like we were like a dance crew and stuff like that. And 97, the DJ at the time says, "Listen, I want to bring you guys up on the stage and let people see you." So we went up on the stage and we started dancing up there. And we would make up routines. When I tell you my brothers then, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we would be practicing routines to perform that Friday night. Just because we wanted, so we are.
Hey, so you talk about this was during the same year you was doing school. You was in school, obviously doing work. At some point, also doing some martial arts, and so you guys were busy, huh? You must have, like what you said, not ADD. It's probably what I have, which is called A through Z.
Yeah. I was telling you, man. And even during like the high school time, we would get up in the mornings. We would have to be, like I said, we did our internship in the projects. We also got hired to work there once we turned 18. Too. So we were working as employees at 18. So here we were, 18 years old, finishing up school. The high school portion of the night school. So 8 o'clock in the morning, we had to be in Long Branch for a vocational course we were taking. Then we would have to be back to the projects, and we would work at 4 hours there, 12 to 4. So we had to hurry up and get back, and then we would leave and get to the dojo by 4:30, and we didn't leave the dojo till 9:30 at night, sometimes 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30 in the morning. I mean, let's put it this way. My father would end classes at 9:30. All the adults would leave. We would be there training. My father would go do whatever he does socially at the time. And went out to eat, whatever. He'd come back to the dojo around like 1:30, just passing by, I guess, because he lived close to the dojo. And he would see the lights on, and he could walk it in. I know my brother has a video of that actually taking place, of him walking in and kind of catching us, training at 1 o'clock in the morning. Still sparring. We sparred for hours. It wasn't points. It wasn't, let's go to 10 points and let's call it night. I'm talking about put on the music and spar for hours. And when that tape pops, you flip the tape upside down and you press play again. And you kept going. And you just kept, and it was 2 hours, 3 hours of just sparring. So, not everything was like, hard, work slow techniques, work distancing, working, timing, try to figure out stuff, how our bodies basically really work and how we.
So basically, what you're telling me is that you did something very similar that I did, which was my sparring partner was called the Mirror. My mother had a big mirror. Still to this very day, it still is in the projects in the Bronx, South Bronx to be exact. And I always looked at it as, well, today I would probably say what you practice in private, you get praise for in public. Again, what you practice in private, you get praise for in public. And that's called the work ethic that most people just don't have. When most people have more excuses than track work, or I should say mileage. I mean, as I'm speaking to you, for whatever's worth, I'm proud of this fact. I'm actually working in my wife's shop. I got here today at 1 o'clock. Can you tell me what time do you see?
12:40 a.m.
So there's a good possibility today I put in 12 hours.
You're definitely going to put in 12 hours, man. I think with you, and I've said it to you many times. Like, first of all, you have different ideas and different projects. So many of them, but for you to stand still and not do something sometimes scares me. When you actually chill and you're sitting there for a second, I'm like, oh man, is this? And I would ask you, are you all right, man? You good? You know, because you're not the stand still guy, and you're always whether you're online working on something or whether you're physically doing something. I'm going, but when you stop and you stand still, I'm like, yo, there must be something wrong. Who just died, or are you upset?
Well, think about it. My role model was Bruce Lee. Now let's think what Bruce Lee would be doing. Whatever he did, I think he'll be doing it to the best of his ability.
No, it is.
So,
I think, you know, this is a man. I mean, of course, before my time, and I've read his books. I watched his documentaries, and I did what a lot of people did who were after that generation. And this was not just a perfectionist. This is a man who constantly worked at it. So people would say, if you have a profession, you have something that you do. If you actually read one book a month, you would actually master it, right? This is a man who wanted to not only read one book a day, he wanted to write a book a day. You know what I'm saying? So it was that type of mindset in very few people. I think in my younger years, we always kept busy doing stuff. But to see you'll be 50 years old, bro, and like in only a few months you'll be 50. And I even tell my mother, I'm like, yo, he's about to be 50. You might want to slow it down, man. You know, if he starts having chest pain, make sure you call 911 right away, because sometimes it's not stopping here. Me and you would be in conversation, just talking about things about between martial arts, about marketing, about self-improvement, about life, about personal stuff. How many times have we talked and either you heard me start snoring or I hear you start snoring? They're like, shit, click. And then we wake up in the morning like, yo, bro, we'll finish the conversation later.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. We know that's happened. You know, okay, let me just try to, we're gonna wrap this up, but to the best of our ability within the next few minutes. And this is what I want to talk about, because obviously we're going to have to continue on this conversation because it's wonderful, wonderful information. I think there's a lot of value behind what you talked about. Work ethic, setting goals, having obstacles, still having perseverance, being a father with responsibilities, being in a hostile environment and actually being able to adapt to it, not giving up on dreams and goals, and at the same time still having balance, between, most people would have done one of those three things and complained about it, So it's like,
I'll tell you one thing, and it's not just, I'll try to keep it short, and this is the truth. Anybody in martial arts, especially anybody that's ever met me, especially me or my brother, there's one thing that has been said, and it's always been said, and we take pride in it, that we have always been respectful to people. That lesson actually comes from my mother's father. His name is Raymond Bowman. He passed in 2009, but he was a huge figure on and the way he was. He wasn't much of a timid guy, and like right between a timid and assertive, but never really aggressive. Not really, but he was always used to say, respect people. No matter what. If you show people respect, even the people, I've met martial artists who are great superstars, and I met some of them were garbage, but I've always showed respect to them. Always showed respect, because there's a lot of people out there that are not doing what they are. They're doing. You got a lot of people out there taking shots at people. A lot of people out there throwing bombs and trolling and calling this person fake and this person this, that person this. And I'm going, wait a second. You know how many fucking people out there are sitting on their couch with their stomach hanging over the damn belt line, doing nothing with themselves? At least give the person credit for doing something. So that's why I look. I say, listen, that person couldn't jump in the square. He could be sitting at home and doing anything. So if this person, whether they're considered garbage, if we could call it that, or great superstar, I show them respect. The only time it changes is the person's character. Because, somebody says to me, if a person is wearing a black belt, they must be good. And I would say that would make me believe that if a person is wearing a police uniform, that would make them good, or a priest collar, that would make them good, or so and so and so and so. It doesn't matter what the uniform or the cloth says. It's your character. What is your character? What do you represent in morals and ethics? And that's, I've met so many people that they're just great people, and I show them respect. Those that I don't admire, I just stay away from. So they would even know whether or not I'm respectful or not. I just stay the hell away from them. If I know the person is a negative person, if the person's a pessimist, if the person just has none but negative shit to say, I just stay away from them. I'd rather not. It's a waste of time. It's just taking too much energy. But when I meet some of these great people out here, man, that I can sit back and listen to forever, man, and I show respect. If you ever see me walk into a competition, I'll shake hands with a little black belt. Oosh, how you doing?
Hey, you know what? For whatever it's worth, I don't think I've ever gone into a room with your mother and her not greet everybody that she is the hostess.
Yeah, no, it is. That's another thing for my grandparents. If we walk in the room, and I'm sure this goes along with a lot of people in certain cultures, you cannot walk into a room, especially with adults there, without shaking hands with every man and giving a kiss on the cheek to every woman that's there. So if I walk in, my grandmother had 8 brothers and sisters. My mother had 6. There were 6 of them, and then their kids that were older than us or their cousins. If I walked in and that table was full with 10 adults, I shook hands with every man. I gave a kiss on the cheek to every woman, and then I disappeared. You couldn't sit at the table when adults were talking. If I was sitting at the table with my grandmother or my mother and an adult walked in the room, I had to get up and go somewhere so the adults could sit down and they could have their adult time. It was just, I know there's different eras now, but my mother, I think that was the same thing. You can't walk into a room, and it was almost like you're shunning somebody. I walk into a tournament, but before I get a chance to go sit down and relax and get a chance to watch the tournament, I already spent the first 15, 20 minutes shaking hands and greeting everybody that I met, or meeting new people, which is my favorite. Meeting new people and getting and building and talking and networking and stuff like that. So I'll spend the first 15 minutes shaking hands, showing respect. Can you imagine me walking to a tournament for somebody that knew me my whole life or watched me grow up, and I look at them on my head, one of those? That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's disrespect. If I walk in, this person's seen me grow up in the arts, and they look at me and say, hey, how's it going, Torres? And give me that head nod. That's almost like when you have all those people on your Facebook, those 800 friends, and then you see some of them in person, and they give you that, what's up, man? You're like, what? What? Seriously? That's all I get is a what's up? So, you have, I think it comes from my grandfather. It's just that I know that's the way he was. He was like...
Yeah, family values.
And it is, traditions, people have their traditions. Now, I understand evolution. I understand things change. I created my own traditions in my household with my kids, my wife. I created my own traditions the way I felt about things. There were certain traditions about my family that don't apply today. So I kind of changed it to kind of fit the way I feel about things today. But there are certain core values that I said, this is something that made me a better person. But then, I spoke to you personally about other things that maybe on other other issues that were examples not to follow from particular individuals or what have you, where I went, no, that's something I won't teach kids, or that's something I won't expose them to, or that's something, I won't do. And it's not, in no way, shape, or form would I ever take any shots at my instructor or my father, but my father was a dictator growing up. He was that mindset. Like, he was the guy who you did it and you did it, and that's it. There was no choices. When you got to the dojo, you did what he told you to do. He turned around and told you to do 100 jumping, spinning crescent kicks. You did 100 jumping, spinning crescent kicks. And if you complained about it, you just got 200. And that's the way. And it was very tough. Me, I'm different. I'm a little different. I think that when I teach my kids train with me, I'm a little bit different. They don't goof around, they don't joke around. I'm still tough on them, stuff. But I think that they don't need.
All right, let me just stop you for a second. Okay, so we talked about the past, and now we actually catching up right now to the present. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself on mute, and I want to continue. I'm doing some more work here. What the heck not, you know?
You're going to be chopping.
I'm doing some more work here.
This video. You're going to be chopping up this audio a lot.
Well, you know what? When it's all said and done, people have options. You can, you know, we can do a variety of things with them. But I believe it's just as important, not just for you and I, but for generations, for years to come. If this had no value, we would have been finished a long time ago. That's one thing that I mentioned it earlier today, speaking with one of my black belts. One of the things that I haven't really been too good at, even though people might think otherwise, is I'm not much of a liar, because lying means normally that you're scared, and I'm not freaking scared, so I don't normally lie. You know? So if this wasn't good, I would have pleasantly hung up already. So I appreciate it, and this just proves that we are family, because you're as long-winded as me. Like you said, you're one of the few people, just like me, that made each other go to sleep and then continue the conversation, which is kind of crazy. But a lot of things in our mind, and people who are benefiting from this information. So it's 2015, I believe, 2014, so we'll skip to that, and then we can always backtrack in the future. You actually had an opportunity to start doing things a little differently after having, I believe, a bittersweet situation as an instructor where you actually, I believe, gave up your employment or was employed while you was teaching at the same time, which was a crazy schedule. I had no idea how you were sleeping. And that's when I met you in the Red Bank School. So let's pick it up now in the Red Bank School and then work our way forward.
Okay, well, I was working with the police department. I was running the school at the same time. I was doing a midnight shift at the department from 12 o'clock midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. I was getting to the dojo by 9 o'clock in the morning and being there all day long. And it was taking a toll on the family. It was taking a toll on me. I was sleeping in the dojo between classes. I was starting to get angry. I was really actually getting angry because I was understand this high and low. On the department, I'm seeing a lot of bad things happen in the streets because nobody calls the police for good things. You know what I'm saying? And then you get, you get the community's backlash with things. But then you go to the dojo and people are being respectful. And your students love you, and it's that. So there was emotional things that were taking place with that. But the school was doing well as far as business is concerned. It was doing well, and it was making a good profit coming in. And some people teach for free and get involved in stuff like that for whatever reason. Some people do it for business. You get a lot of people that are old school and they hate on people that do it for business. You know what? How many grandmasters died broke? Like knock it off. But a lot of our grandmasters that were valuable, very valuable, died without a penny in their pocket. And that's sad. That's sad that some of these legendary guys couldn't even get the funeral paid for. You got to do fundraising for. So when people want to mock people that do it for business to make an income, take care of their family, you want to mock it, knock it off. Like that's idiotic thinking. This is not 1975. This is not 1982 where you get to teach in your basement for free because you don't have any overhead. You have to pay rent. You have to pay insurance. You have to take care of stuff, and you have to take care of your family. So for those who don't understand the business aspect of it, then open the school and see how you really feel about it then. Tell me that whether or not having quantity and quality is important, which I do agree. But you have to have quantity also. I mean, you have your quality, that's great. So I'm not asking anybody to sacrifice your quality, but you have to have quantity. You have to keep your doors open for the years to come. You want to take care of your family, especially when you're making this a life choice and a career goal. But I was working with the police department, and I was doing this, so I was making pretty good money. The dojo's money didn't, was just extra basically. But I was making, when you start making more money running a school and less money, with the department or whatever, less, and they're doing more with the department than that. So I made a choice one day, and I guess it's one of those epiphanies. And sometimes I think back on the GM, and I'm like, man, I should have never made that choice. And it was almost one of those. If you change your mind, you'll change your life things. And I said, well, maybe I'll walk away from the police department. And I'll still be certified, so I can always get back into it. But I want to focus on the school because I love martial arts. This is my blood. This is everything, I'm about. I love this. I love teaching. I love learning. I'm always a student. I love learning. And you can learn things from your students. These 5-year-olds teach me things all the time. I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to do this full-time, because having a full-time job, it is in my opinion, working 12 hours a day is part-time. Working 24 hours out of the day is full-time. And sometimes when you say I have a business and you're only there 9 to 5, you are doing a fraction of time. Your part-time has to be at least minimum 10 to 12 hours a day doing it part-time. You know what's funny?
That's the difference between a worker, an employee, and an employer, because half a day for an employee is 4 hours, and half a day for an employer is 12 hours. And that's absolutely the difference. And people do work quite a bit more than that, and they sleep because they have to rest, not because they want to hang out with the cousin of death.
Well, especially when your body says go to sleep and you fall asleep, like literally when you crash. And I'm not saying that it's healthy, but especially when you're in business, and that's your only sense of livelihood. And that's what I did. I left the department. I made that my only livelihood, my only means of some type of revenue. So that wasn't 8 hours a day. That wasn't 10 hours a day. That was, you woke up in the morning, you went there. And then it came to the point that, like I said, even when I was doing both jobs, doing the department and then doing that, crashing was happening. You can't crash in a patrol car on the side of the street. That's not a good look, you know what I'm saying? Not being on my A game at a call when stuff where I should be because I'm tired. Because I taught classes, I taught morning classes and private classes. I didn't get much sleep. That was unhealthy. So I made the choice to, kind of focus only on martial arts, which, like I said, sometimes I look back and I go, I wonder, maybe if I should have made a different thing. But you know what? I learned a lot. But anyways, focus on the dojo. Everything was great. Things were going good. Martial artists don't get health insurance. I guess maybe there is some type of coverage out there that martial arts school owners. But you're going to be paying out of your pocket. And I have.
Wait, let me just interject. Let me just interject for a second, only because I believe I do have a little insight of some options that you were that you had to weigh. If I remember correctly, your situation in law enforcement got a little uncomfortable without getting into specifics, and like you said, it was a situation where you could have felt better if you were able to take care of your family financially while doing something that you passionately was part of you, which was the martial arts, and you got in a crossroads. And if I remember correctly, I don't think that Hurricane Sandy helped out either.
Yes, yeah. It was definitely. I left the department. I focused on the school full time, and we had 85 karate students. We had 125 cardio kickboxing students. Definitely killing it. My father was there, a lot, and he was kind of, though I was the Shion of the dojo, he was still the executive, basically, I guess, the upper line. And, he had, I guess, his royalties or whatever, so he was making money, and I was doing all I can to make the money I can to survive, because I just left the police department, which I was making money. So I wanted to I had to make at least double of what I was doing when I was only focusing on part-time, like the 12 hours, you know what I'm saying? Like I was teaching private classes from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 noon, only having enough time to go grab something to eat, come back, and then teach classes from 1:30 to 9:30 at nighttime between private classes and then the regular student classes, especially when they start getting promoted to yellow belts and green belts. Now you have to teach different days a week. No, you're no longer doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now you're doing Monday through Saturday. And Sunday was a promotion day. You had to walk around and promote your school. And that was a day of doing flyers and going online and doing all you can to promote your school. So it was always work. Yeah, Hurricane Sandy came along, and where the dojo was located was on the other side of a river, Bridge Street, and Hurricane Sandy came along. And those that know about it, a lot of people lost power, so we lost power at the school. Flooding waters came in. They came in, and we have those foam mats on the ground. The foam mats were totally destroyed. They were expanded. By the time we got back, which was like November 8th to the dojo, so Hurricane Sandy hit like October 28th, something like that. We got back to the dojo. By the time we got back there, after I got power back in my house, by the time, we knew that we can drive, you know what I'm saying? Because you couldn't even get gas anywhere. So when I knew I could drive 35 minutes up to my school, and I get there, and I walk in, and by this time it's November 8th, so the flood came through, the sun came out, dries things up, the mats is fully expanded, and they're destroyed. The sheetrock border of 2 feet of water that was in it made mold all around it. So now for us to get this dojo back in order, we had to redo every sheetrock of the whole dojo. We had to we spent $3,500 a mat, so $3,500 to try to fix it or try to cut the edges and make it look a little messed up. Now, that was our first, the first issue. So, okay, fuck it. You know what? Grab the knife, grab the razors, let's cut the mat. We cut the edges of the mat. I says, you know what? We got to get the students back in the train because we're messed up. A little bit of the sheetrock was warped. We replaced, we went going back and try to replace the sheetrock. It was messed up. We didn't want to really get the students in there to mess with mold and all that other stuff. So what we did is we made a decision that kind of changed the game a little bit. Now, my school was 99.9% Latin, and probably 90% of that were a lot of undocumented citizens. A lot that didn't drive. Most of them walked to the dojo or drove bikes to the dojo, and they lived in the area. So for me to look at them and say, okay, well, we got a van, a karate van from the Eatontown dojo, which was a town next to, or 2 towns away from what my dojo was. We're going to get this van. We're going to drive over here. We're going to pick as many people up as we can, drive them to the Eatontown dojo and train in that location. And we're going to do that every night of the week. 85 students or 86 students went down to something like 17, something like that. Some huge. I mean, it was like 17 or 18 students left that didn't mind that transition to be driven, including a couple of students that did drive, and did have stuff taken care of. So now here I am picking up these students and bringing them 2 towns away to be able to get to class on time and to mix with students from another dojo. So that became a little bit iffy because they were a little nervous being around other students. Melissa Jaggers, which is an instructor of the Eatontown dojo, she kind of, she's that's a dojo. She runs the class, but at the same time, I was like, my students were a little different. They kind of, like Melissa was my student when I was younger. When I was at Shodan, she was one of my students, and then she went up the ranks, and now she's running her own dojo. I kind of taught the old school way. She kind of transitioned it into her own little way of teaching. So mixing classes like that was tough. It was kind of tough because now you're putting double classes into her space. Of course, the revenue coming in is practically nothing now, down from 86 to 17, 18 students. No cardio kickboxing students. Those students were paying something like $60 a month each out of the 125 of them. None of them, because none of them were taking a transition just to go do cardio kickboxing, to come over and do cardio kickboxing at another location. So let's just say maybe from 12 to 13 grand a month down to $1,500 a month. Talk about a fucking hit. Come on, man. I'm upset, man. I'm really upset. Everything's tough. You sit to your stomach. Trying to do my best to get up, and I'm driving it back and forth, trying to do some sort of transition so they feel comfortable. And then a couple of students started picking off, like leaving. They didn't, whatever, maybe the feel of the other school, I don't know what it was, but they started leaving. And that kind of went down to something like 10 students left of the Red Bank School. And I could probably name all 9 of them now off the top of my head. And then I looked at my father and I said to him, what are we doing here? I mean, we all have a location, but the school is damaged. FEMA is not paying for anything. The landlord's insurance, we're going to try to get them to help. We'll pay for stuff. We don't have the money extra to rebuild that school. It costs thousands upon thousands to just get the place going. We don't have the money, and I don't got it because I just left my goddamn career back in the friggin' January, and now here it is. I left in May 26th of that year. Now this is November, and I don't have nothing but this. It was February of that year, the following year, and I said I gotta go. I gotta go back to work. I have to provide for my family, and when you start living at a certain price, you know what I'm saying, or a certain revenue or a certain income, and dramatically decreases, you got to move. You know what I'm saying? You got to give up.
But remember, I lost 90% of my income in 90 days. So trust me, I know.
And it hurts because you want to lose your mind. You think about those guys on like the Pelican brief that jumped out of the goddamn window because the stock market crashed. And I'm not saying that those are the thoughts, but it was like.
No, I had those thoughts with no hesitation. I was like, my God, it's difficult to breathe.
And the thing is you notice difference in people too. You know what I'm saying? That's what bothers me. I think will hurt me more because I was able to pick up a job that paid me okay money, get health insurance, which is the job I work now. A couple of years later, and it's a good job. It's like I said, it pays well. I'm teaching karate a few days a week, so I'm making extra money. And but I had to move out of my home and kind of downgrade. I had a brand new car, and I had to kind of downgrade to a used car. And I grew up poor, so it didn't really affect me that much. But you got to remember the family, the kids, the wife. Get used to a certain thing, and it's tough to like you understand the transition, and as a man, you're like, I can deal with the transition. You just got to go with the punches. But to look at them and go, yeah, you're not going to be able to live the same way we lived then, or whatever it may be. It's tough. But anyways, so I get it. So I'm doing the job now that and I'm teaching the karate, and I had to get back into the workforce, and so working, like I said, I work at a hospital doing security, teach karate, and it's fine, and we're doing good. But like I said, the way people treat you, treat me now, even now, I guess. When you're at the highest point, I'm sure you can concur with this, GM. And when you're at the highest point where you're feeling good because you're succeeding, and you bust your ass to get where you got. And you're kind of high-flying, and next thing you know, you go from there to this humble living, and then next thing you know, you start noticing those people that were shaking your hand and smiling and happy to see you. You're just another mother effer in the room and shit, you know what I'm saying? And not to say that I wanted that all the time where you walked in and people praised me or were happy to see me. That wasn't what he was saying. It was just now people look down. Or at least at the time. Now, I mean, I still get respect.
Again, you were speaking to me as you was working in that job, and for whatever it was, I want to thank you again for even trying to get me employed in that system, security, that is, police, hospital. But they treated me like a homeless person when I went into the tournament after being awake for 3 days. That was pretty documented, and I believe you and I were speaking up until just before I actually went.
Well, okay, yeah, no, so you tell me, I forgot which one it was. Was it that Twin Tower, or was that the Capitol?
Yeah, it was Twin Towers.
So Twin Towers, you tell me you're going to compete in it. And I've always been honest with you, and you've always been honest with me. You were out of shape, stomach sticking out, and you weren't sleeping, man. And I'm like, dude, you gotta get that insomnia and friggin', fight that, do something with it. At the time, I think you were just starting to kick off with Shackley and started taking Shackley. And you said, listen, I'm gonna go compete in Twin Towers. And I'm like, dude, it's like 2 o'clock in the fucking morning, Like tomorrow, I'm gonna jump on a train or whatever. I'm gonna go to Twin Towers. I'm like, bro, it's like 2 o'clock. And we talked for like another hour or so, some along those lines. It ended up being like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, bro, you were supposed to be going to this tournament, and I spoke to you the morning of, and you didn't sleep. And I'm like, how you gonna compete in this damn tournament, man? And you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have to do what I gotta do. And then you went in there, stomach out and everything, and beat everybody mainly with your hands. Fast feet confidence, beating everybody with his hands. And winning, taking first tournament back after a couple of years, and out of shape with zero.
I had fought in 5 years, but I created some videos that was making people think that I might have been, because I was teaching at the USC gym while working 12 hours a day doing security. They were fixing.
All right. No, wait. Hold on. Okay, I want to make sure my memory. Okay. We were talking. You were out on a beach doing security with a hard hat on, and a freaking traffic vest on, doing security, and you were doing YouTube videos, and you were putting those up too, and you were talking about nutrition, and you were talking about this, that, and talking about bananas, and eat pasta. Like you were talking.
Yeah, what I did was I did 3 little videos out of USC gym where I showed my stretching, I showed my kicking, and I showed some footwork. And at least in those videos, I looked like I was in shape. Unless if you do a photo shot of me in the split, you see that I was about 2 months pregnant, but I worked over the black shirt, And but what happened was I said, you know what? In the art of war, your reputation starts to precede you. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Hercules, but the recent one that had Mr. Johnson himself, Dwayne Johnson, Mr. The Rock. They would send people in front before Hercules got there, and they would just talk about all the stories. So it pre-frames people into thinking that Hercules was this mighty guy. And he was, no doubt about it, but it was really more the fantasy, the story, the myth. So I created my own by making it seem like I was in good shape. If you watch the little video when I'm kicking and blitzing and doing some things, it only lasts about 45 seconds, but I can look good for 45 seconds.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then I also showed the night before how to use complex carbohydrates to increase the oxygen in your muscles to eliminate or decrease the possibility of lactic acid buildup. And that's why in the morning time I also drank I ate some bananas. And it's interesting because complex carbohydrates, which is pasta, so I ended up doing if it's out there, it's actually about a 20-minute little documentary that I combined all those things, which we're going to re-edit. But yeah, you was the person I was speaking to last.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, so you said you eat like a runner. Or because it was something along those lines. Like I know you were eating pizza, not pizza. You were eating pasta from like a little tray thing that night.
Yeah, I did. Well, I went over to Aldi's because at the time I was also pretty broke, and I was showing how even with Aldi's was probably about $1 to get the equivalent to a would-be oodles of noodles or ramen noodles, but inside of a bowl. So maybe I might have spent 69 cents. And I said, you know what? Even with a limited budget, you can still have complex carbohydrates, which increases the nutrition level of your body to be able to perform. And then I also went over to I got some bananas, which you can always get bananas, pretty cheap. And
but see, what's crazy is because I remember when you left the tournament. I think we talked. I think you should wait. You worked at 6 o'clock that morning.
Yeah, I worked from 6 a.m. from 6. Okay, what happened was on the Thursday, I actually sold somebody a website. So I needed to get $1,000 for the website, and I had the option of finishing it like by Sunday or finishing it by Friday. So obviously I finished it by Friday, so I didn't get the chance to sleep. When I got home on Thursday, I went straight to the website, and I was to make the website. And I was actually working from 6 a.m. I should say from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning, 12-hour shift, 7 days a week. And then in between there doing the UFC gym. So what happened was I got off on Thursday at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I went straight to make the website. So by the time I finished with what I had to do, I would go back to work, which was Friday. And that's when I'm speaking to you. Friday night, I believe you was on the night shift during that time. So what happened was while you were working the night shift, we were having a conversation, and in between there, I was recording my videos of nutrition.
Right, because you know what? Because I actually worked from 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock that morning. That's right. I talked to you till you got off. Because I think it was during maybe the second week of me getting there, or third week of me getting there doing security, and I was working the midnight shifts. And that's right. When right before I got off, I'm like, yeah, I remember. Listen, man, and I'm thinking in my mind, there's no way you're going to this tournament, you're going to go home and crash. And then I find out you're on your way there, and how I found out that you actually got there was somebody you know on Facebook tagged you in it, and you come in and your hair is all jacked up, and you're and you're walking, you had this like white shirt on, and I'm like, yo, he made it. And then somebody put a video of one of your fights. I don't know who it was that was there that videotaped it, but a video, like a quick video of one of your, like the first fight. And I was like, oh shit! And you won that one with just hands. I don't think you do one kick in a match, or in the first match, maybe even if you pulled up one, it wasn't. You didn't. I don't think you even landed it, but you won with just hands. And then you fought Gerald Dawson, that one?
Yep.
And that one, you fought him, and a couple other guys, but you take first place. And I remember I'm looking at my mother. I'm talking to my brother. I'm like, yo, I was just talking to my man at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I went home. I probably fell asleep by 7. I got up like noontime. I was like, and then I go on Facebook and I'm seeing that he's fighting. I was like, and then he wins, takes first in the Twin Towers. And then I remember me and you were talking about, because I think that's when you were kind of just kicking off with Shackley, and you were like, and we were talking about nutrition, and you were like, and you were hating your videos. When by the time you got back, we started talking and met up and stuff like that. And I was
you know what? This was actually just a few months before Shackley, because when I started doing, it's just slightly before Shackley, because I started doing Shackley around September, and this was in August, I believe. And just about the transition stage, and that's when I did get myself in physical shape, and people were like, "What the heck's going on here?" And a whole bunch of us.
Well, I remember you. Well, first of all, you were your worst critic, because you would like.
Oh, I was 3 months pregnant. In the video, when I did the recap a few days after, I stood up and I said, "Oh my God, did you see that belly?" And I actually lifted my belly. The video's out there. I lifted my belly, and I talked about how I looked like I was 3 months pregnant. Oh my God, disgusting.
We'll see what's crazy. Okay, so this is around September, and I remember now April comes along. No, right before April, March. March comes along. Now you have the 6-pack showing, all this other stuff, right? And that's what kind of kicks off on the second story of, here's my mother, who was dealing with a lot of health problems and out of shape and overweight, and just feeling bad. and you introduced me to Shackley late March, but I haven't tried it yet. You were talking to me about Shackley, and I'm like, yeah, okay, one of those other things, because I've tried the green tea pills, I've tried this, I've tried that, to try to cut weight quick and this and that, and I fluctuated between 200 to 220 for years, back and forth, and oh my God, I'm almost gaining weight, and this and that. And you're like, listen, my man, it's gonna work. I'm like, yo, if it worked for you, look, man, I mean, you weren't even training like that from that August or that September to that March. You weren't even training like that.
Because I was injured. I got injured.
Yeah,
trying to force myself to get in shape. Trying to force myself to get in shape after the tournament, and being embarrassed that I looked like I was 3 months pregnant, I went and got injured. And then I couldn't really train, but while I was having this nutrition, and again, got rid of my insomnia, got rid of my short-term memory loss and a few different other situations I didn't even realize I had really badly. Literally, my body was resetting its metabolism, so I was losing weight, and I would even take pictures and videos of me eating breakfast and dinner, and they were pretty hearty because being in Torres at the time where I had the karate school that I was living in, I was surrounded by Spanish food. So I was losing the weight while eating and not starving myself. And then I remember the day that, I got you guys as part of the team, but you guys weren't taking the product. And I remember your mom said, well, you try it first or something like that.
Oh, no. Okay, so I turned around and I'm telling her about it, and we're all sitting in, where were we at? We were in my living room or my dining room, something like that, and she came over. In my dining room here. And she came over, and then you said, I feel good, this and this and this and that, and then you do a split on the floor. You pull off a split in jeans.
I think we have that picture too.
Yeah, and I went, yo, and you're like, that's what I'm talking about. And then, and so my mother goes, oh man, this stuff, I'm sure it works. And then you ordered a tub and said, here, guys, take it. The first tub we got, you paid for it. You said, take it, try it out. You don't believe me, trust me. And so me and her shared the tub. And the first week, she lost 9 pounds, and I lost 7. The first week, I lost 7 pounds, she lost 9 pounds. And then we came back out here again with a laptop, and we ordered another tub, and it went from there. And then I started feeling good. She started feeling good. She lost, 40-something pounds from April 1st to November, April to May or something like that, June or something like that.
Yeah, but the weight was one thing, but I think what happened was her energy had changed and the pain that she had.
We saw, because I remember when we first started taking Shackley, this was after the second tub, which you ordered right after you gave us the first tub. We started walking on a boardwalk, and we started walking in the distance from my house to Belmar, which is a few towns over, is probably about 3 miles. So we would walk, and she would have to stop like every couple blocks, huffing and puffing, and then we increased, and then she was able to go a couple more blocks the next day, and then a couple more blocks, and next she thought, bro, I'm telling you, she just stopped, and she would do incline push-ups against the railing of the boardwalk, and she'll do 20 of them, and then walk up a few blocks and do 20 more, and then it went from incline push-ups to flat surface push-ups to putting her foot up on the chair and doing decline push-ups, and what she did is she increased the weight of the arms. She went from going from 25 push-ups to 15 to 10. So now she was pulling off every few blocks 10 decline push-ups, and we're walking not just Belmont over the bridge and closer into the next town over, and back, and she's feeling good, and she's cutting this weight, man, and she's out shopping, getting new clothes and this that, and I haven't seen her do this since I was a kid, maybe my teenage years. Last time I saw my mother, actually being very, very active. And then she started throwing kicks and punches and play that. And then and then we kind of kicked off from there, and then you started talking to me about helping other people, and it's something that I will admit, and won't deny that you actually paid for my startup kit, my $300 startup kit for Shackley out of pocket, because you believed that it was going to help me, and it did. It got me in pretty good shape. I mean, I gained a few back lately because I quit something that I should have quit a long time ago, but I started feeling better, and then I started becoming a distributor, and I got some of my friends starting and stuff like that. But it was a transition, I think, of even if I laxed and fell off a little bit and whatever, she stood on it, and she stood healthy, and she, for a woman that had health problems who was sleeping at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because she didn't have the energy or something was happening, for a woman who was waking up early in the morning and then, still getting 8 hours but was going out dancing and doing this, that it was well worth it. It was well worth the experience and watching it happen.
Hey, how about if I tell you that this week that just passed, your mother and I went over to my rest in peace karate taekwondo instructor's son's karate taekwondo school, who's my newest client, Simon Ree. I should say Simon Kim. And as we went there, we noticed that he's a Shackley distributor, and he had all the children's vitamins and things. And hindsight being 2020, I should have grabbed one of those tubs. But what I'm saying is that has not changed. My strategy right now is where I'm below. I'm 219 pounds presently from 230, so I'm down to fat. As compared to being obese just a little while ago, under my standards, of course, and I can say that because it's my life. And now I'm looking forward to just being out of shape, when I'm about 210, and that should be about 10 days from now. So I'm in the process. We're going to have to stop this conversation right now because what time is it now, sir? Because I think I put in the 12 hours, and I think it's time for me to check out. What time is it?
1:30 in the morning, and we've been
1:30 in the morning on Monday now. Okay, so I put in my 12 hours, and I'm done. So we will continue the saga. I appreciate your sharing, and the best is yet to come. We do have a plan, guys, to be able to infect people positively. As you can tell, the gentleman has wonderful information to share. I'm proud of him in more ways than one. We didn't get a chance to speak about a few things, but you know what? We shall continue this. Sir, if you don't mind, will you do us the honors of sharing some more information in the very near future?
Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff we didn't go over. I went over the place a little bit because, how we do. We talk and we just go from one subject to the other. But I definitely have no problem definitely, sharing. But I am a student, man. I always will be a student, no matter what titles or no matter what happens. I love learning. I watch.
Hey, one thing that I'm excited about, we spoke about it briefly today, is Wednesdays at 7, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Check out the other Para Talks on here, man. I'll tell you, want to talk about jewels? I'm listening to every day. I'm listening to a new Para Talk on here, and I'm listening to some of these great guys with great information, some legendary guys, and these are jewels to somebody like me who's a student. And I love learning, and I'm listening to these guys, where they come from, why they are, how they are, and it gives you a different idea about what you thought about these guys, especially when they be so candid and basically be so personable. And I guess only you can bring that out in people, GM. Because me, I like 2.5 hours. I talk about a lot of different things, a lot of personal things that I don't speak too much about with people, but just stating the way it is, and I'm sure I have a lot more to share, but it's for a different day.
Well, as you can tell, recently I actually made a post on Facebook, which was not while I was in Facebook, but it was to Facebook from one of the other intellectual properties that I use. And I think there I shared some information that many people might have been surprised and maybe shocked, but keeping it consistent with my, keeping it real concept. I just had to have a conversation. That's basically what we try to do here, share the truth. At least that's how we believe and know it to be at that time. things do change with information in terms of what beliefs are, but intentions of keeping an eye on this is what we, I think, most are pretty good at. All right. Any parting words for the next time, sir?
See you when I see you. And